Hey YouTubers, morning, Robb. Love it. Guys, today we got a video. It's kind of cool. I'm going to go over like 20 health tips. I watch a lot of YouTube videos and they say the first 30 seconds is very important because most people, they stop watching after 30 seconds. If they're not interested, you should tell them something really fascinating to make them watch. Also, once you get them interested, you should tell them about something interesting, going to be exciting to watch all the way to the end. When you watch all the way to this video, you're just going to get to the end. There's nothing exciting at the end of this video. Also, exciting reasons why you should watch. This is the most exciting reason. For the last, up until the age 60, I was never in hospital my whole life except to visit other people. Once I hit 60, I started having one medical adventure after another. And for like the last 8 years, I've been to the hospital 4 times. And ever since then, every day on YouTube, I watch 4 hours a day. At least 25% of that time on YouTube, I'm busy looking up videos on health, on diet, on exercise, on medicine, on all sorts of things about physical health, mental health, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. So sure, I'm a guy that makes sandwich toaster videos and canned fish videos. So you don't want to get your medical advice from me to do things. You want to get them from your health professional. But over the years, I've garnered some tips that might be helpful for people who haven't turned 60 and started their medical adventure, or you may be older than 60 and you are already on the same boat as I am. So these are just things that they're anecdotal, which means nothing unless you have randomized trials repeatedly. You really don't know anything scientifically, so everything I'm saying is just my opinion. But I thought it would be worthwhile to put out there because reinforce some things that people may already know or provide information people hadn't thought about. It's just an interesting topic for me because I've been interested for a long time now and I've been talking too much. So let's start and go over the different tips that I kind of wish I had focused more on earlier in my life and that I've started doing now in my later in my life. So um, I'm hearing someone on there's a few people clicking off. Okay, let's get started. First one, if you don't learn anything else in all the tips, one of the most important tips I can give you is to improve your quality of your water and your air. Um, Also, drink more water. I don't have any scientific proof, but everything I've read and listened to and been told is if I had drank and consumed more water over the years, I would have had trouble with my kidneys and having kidney stones, or my gallbladder and having gallstones, and later on having my gallbladder removed. So just adding more water to my diet every day is painless. It's cost nothing. What I do now is I make tea every day at nighttime and let it sit overnight. And the next day I add ice cubes. It's green tea, put a little bit of ginger, and then once it's done, I add ice cube more water. So during the day I have a lot of water. Then it becomes water that's flavored. If you're at work, you could have a carafe or something to hold a lot of water, or you bottle whatever you want. Just start drinking more water. Different ways to get more liquid into your diet and have less chance of getting stones. But also the quality of your water. I put a video on several years ago about where you could find a link to get the statistics of all the water systems in the U.S., what particular problems they have with their water, so you can find the right filter to get to remove that problem, because different municipalities have different issues with their water and different filters work for different things. So you can go to that website free and look at what your water quality is where you live, and then find out what water filter would be best for you. Because let's face it, everybody watching this right now is a professional water drinker. We all consume liquids and we all breathe air. So those are two things we do every single day that we could improve by getting a HEPA air filter. If you're living in an indoor environment where there's a lot of contaminants, mold, mildew, fungus, or things from your furniture, walls, whatever, you can get things to help alleviate that. At work, not so much. I worked 17 years chemistry manufacturing. We had a lot of health issues with pollutants, and it was difficult. because you'd have a hood room where people would not use it. OSHA would come, they would test the hood room, but that isn't where the problem was. People would be making the chemical solutions on a hot plate that had a burner, and then they would spill, they wouldn't clean it, then later on they'd make another solution, turn on the heat, and that would heat the chemicals, and you'd have noxious fumes coming that you'd be breathing. And it happened every Friday for years. Or you'd have people not following the rules, and I would come into a room and they had put sodium azide into a tank, and the pH was too low, and now the clouds of vapors are coming off. You can only see it with the back door was open and the sun's coming in, and everybody scrambled, and they didn't put up a sign, let anybody know. Now I'm putting my stuff in there, and I can't breathe, and I'm getting headache, and my eyes are getting problems. I wanted to kill those people. So there's a lot of contaminants in the air that you need to once you get stuff in your lungs, it's hard to get rid of them. So get a HEPA air filter if you're living in an environment there's a lot of smoke, particulate matter. Use quality water filters to filter your water, even if it's just a simple carbon filter like a Brita. You can go a long way to improving the quality of your health by improving your air and the water you breathe, because you do that every day and it builds up, and you have a lot of health issues that emanate from those two areas. So, and it's something that people really don't spend a lot of time thinking because it's so innocuous. You just do it every day, you don't think about it, or you get used to it. People get used to breathing bad air, they go outside and there's a lot of pollutants. So you want to try to focus on those things that you can fix, that don't cost a lot of money, that can get you a lot of benefits from, that are proven. Next one, addictions: sugar, drugs, alcohol, tobacco. I did a video on quitting sugar and also quitting tobacco. I never had a drug problem back in the 70s. Okay, I did, you pot a few times, but there was women involved. What are you going to do? But I never liked having something control over me, or I didn't need to expand my brain or my mind or my creativity through drugs, or like, I had enough imagination. I didn't need any more. And in fact, most of the people I ever met that said they improved their creativity in artistic endeavors in music or in art through drugs, usually they were lying to themselves. And most of their friends were on drugs, so they didn't get anybody to tell them that their stuff looked pretty bad. I never, and it's like alcohol. I remember reading something, Winston Churchill said he got more out of alcohol than alcohol got out of him. Well, at least he admitted that alcohol takes something out of you. Most of us aren't Churchill. Most of us are Joe Sixpack. Hold my beer. That's who most people are. Alcohol, I read studies that say a little bit of alcohol is good for you because people live longer. They drink a little of alcohol. That's bullcrap. Most of those people, I think, from someone who knows because he makes sandwich toaster videos, I think most people who show an improvement in lifespan and lower mortality from drinking a little alcohol, it's because they're very social people and they have a support group and they're humans and they are in contact with other humans. And that's one of the most healthy things you can have, is interaction with large amounts of other people to express your feelings and so on and be human. If you're just drinking alone a little bit every day, I don't think you probably live that much longer. I think that's where a little bit of drinking comes from, helping people. I think alcohol is basically poison. But if it wasn't for my heart, we're having issues with abnormal rhythms, it's fine now. But I would probably be making champagne at home and trying making beer at home because I love doing that stuff, and just drinking a little bit. It seemed to be, it's a little fun. And as drugs, you got a monkey on your back. You know what the hell? And the tobacco, same thing, but not as bad as drugs. And drugs nowadays, good Lord. When I was young, there was recreational drugs and people get high, and still was bad. And they had some nasty stuff back then. But nowadays, you've got 1 million people the last 10 years overdosed. And why? I don't want to lose my channel. I don't want to start talking about this issue, but we got a couple countries that are responsible for sending the majority of this over to us, and nothing is done to them, where we're attacking other people all the time. So uh, drugs are bad. Okay. uh, you they're for losers. You don't want to be a loser. Get off them. Do what you can. It's not easy. They're powerful. Once they start, it's almost impossible. But so long as you know one person can do it, you can do it too. That's what you got to think. Don't ever become your illness or your addiction. You don't become. You're not a drug addict. You're a person who has an addiction. You're not a diabetic, you're a person who has diabetes. You're not a manic depressive, you're someone who has manic depressive. So don't identify yourself with your addiction, with your illness. You know, that's not a good road to go down. Third or fourth leading cause of death aren't illegal drugs, they're prescription drugs. Either they're given too much or too little, or not enough, or the wrong amount, wrong time. Of course, there's other medical procedures also that include uh, add on to the deaths, but a big part of them are prescription drugs. And we're just prescription drug crazy in this country. Most elderly people, the older they get, the more drugs they take and the more interactions and problems they have. And if my mom had Alzheimer's when she died, I think she was taking 12 pills. It was just not good. Um, I'm only taking one. I take a statin. They wanted me to take 10 milligrams every day. I take 5 milligrams 3 times a week. Take the minimum amount, always with approval of your medical professional, but take the least amount required to do whatever you want done. And always try to go to the root cause of the problem and get rid of it and get rid of the prescription drugs. I had to have an ablation. They took tubes down my throat that caused a sore and ulcer, so they gave me beta blocker to help get rid of the acid reflux and stuff. That helped, but then I got worse acid reflux after the ulcer was gone, and then I went to the doctor and she wanted to give me more. And I did some research and they said these beta blockers were designed to work for 3 months, and after that they were dangerous. And I was talking to her and she started laughing at me. I'm thinking, I'm paying her to help me and she's laughing at me? Like, so I did everything. I made a video on how to get rid of acid reflux. Everything. I still get a little bit now and then if I don't do the right things. But anytime you have a prescription medicine, work with your doctor to find the reasons you have it and what you can do to eventually get off of it. Because anything that's strong enough to help you is strong enough to hurt you, even ice cubes. So that's not medical advice. That's only an opinion from a guy who makes sandwich toaster videos and likes canned fish recipes. So sleeping better was one of the easiest, simplest, cheapest things I did. I take some melatonin. That's not, I mean, it's inexpensive, but it costs something. But everything else, I got an eye thing for my eyes. I put cardboard over the windows. I turn the lights off, get the temperature down low, start not eating late at night and not watching so much before going to bed. Do you know the things you can find in 1 second on the internet? And having a routine. I even made a sleep tape to help me sleep better. And it's not 100% better, but it's much, much, much better. And the research I've done on melatonin has helped in other areas. Speaking of sunlight, these are going to be hacks. I read the books on melatonin. Dr. Reader is now talking about who wrote the book on melatonin. He's talking about how when you turn the lights off at night, it increases your melatonin levels. But if you go out in the sunlight early in the morning, it does something to your body that also helps increase your melatonin. But there's another benefit from the sunlight is it does something to help get rid of certain problems. Like he even says, like the people who are having symptoms with the virus, with the spike protein that's going on right now, he said the ultraviolet rays does something to help remove the spike proteins from the body that are harming it. So that's something that's interesting that I hadn't known about. So you don't want to get sunlight to where you burn, or you want to talk to your dermatologist. What sunlight is good for you, what amount, and so on. You can also check the UV index for your area every single day to see when it's safe to go out. But the darker your skin, the harder it is to make the vitamin D and get different benefits. But I think the UV light, it doesn't really matter for the ultraviolet light that Dr. Rader was talking about for those other benefits. So increasing your vitamin D through the sunlight is a very good. I take the vitamin D with the vitamin K, and I also take the cauliflower oil with peanut butter to help the taste. But I also try to do sunlight every single day around 10:30 in the morning. So the second thing hack is oral hygiene, using a mouthwash and a nasal rinse to help with cold problems, and in some cases with virus problems. Like the recent virus that's been going around, people have found out that the the entry points that the virus is used to get in the body are a lot of them are in the mouth and some in the nose, and they go through those entrance points into your vascular system. So there was one study done that using things to help increase oral hygiene, gargling with a mouthwash and brushing teeth, and in some cases the oral nasal rinse. What I do, I'm not recommending you do it, but I recommend maybe you look into it. Is I read a couple studies, and one of them is linked to in the National Institute of Health. They use a half of a teaspoon into 8 ounces of nasal rinse, with comes with little packets with the salt and the bicarbonate, sodium bicarbonate, and use it. I did a video on that, but that's, some people don't want to do that. Some people think it's crazy. Other people have tried it. Whenever I feel like I've got a cold coming on and I'm getting a lot of phlegm and nasal run, and I'll do that, and then I get rid of what symptoms I had within hours. So that's something to think about. Next one, exercise habit. Notice how big that word habit is. One of the most important things you can do is to make exercise habit. Habit is something you do without thinking, like brushing your teeth every day. You don't think about it, you just do it. If you can come up with something you like that doesn't hurt you, and that's very important, not getting hurt, because as we get older, we're not 20 anymore. If we get hurt, it takes 5 times longer for us to get better. And it's also much easier for us to get hurt and easier to lose balance and so on. So you want to do things that aren't going to hurt you. That's primary. Anytime anyone tells you when you're older to do exercises, the first thing they should tell you is to do exercises that you do not get hurt from, because that can, I know people who are replacing joints because of them doing exercises to get better, and they ended up hurting themselves tremendously. So you want to definitely have a habit of an exercise, but something to hurt you. But once you do have that habit, you can add on to it. And that's the beauty of the exercise habit, is you can start adding things to it that you like and you enjoy. And as you see and feel that you're getting better, you get confidence and you get momentum, and you see how things in your life are getting better instead of you're getting older and weaker and you're just becoming what you see in your mind when you think of really old people. So you want to try to be vigorous in your old life and have a quality of life that's high as much as you can for as long as you can. And one of the best, cheapest ways you can do it is by habit. Um, Next thing is important. We talked a little bit earlier about support groups when I was talking about alcohol. Some people who drink, but part of that benefit, I think, from alcohol is the support groups they have from other people they're drinking with. There was a study years ago done someplace in Pennsylvania, Rosemont, Roseville, somewhere, and it was a fascinating study. They found out that the people had a diet that wasn't that good. I mean, they had lots of bacon, fat, and all these other things that were supposed to be bad for you, but their heart health was great. And they had so many other good health factors going on in that community. And they never could figure out. Finally, they realized the only thing they could think of is everybody in that community knows everybody in the community. Their grandmother lives over there, their uncle lives over there, the people they went to first grade is over there. And it's cohesive, it's homogenous, and it's not like the modern day society where nobody knows anybody, everybody from someplace else, nobody have anything in common, there's no culture, language, religion, there's nothing, and we're all atomized, meaningless individuals. Where this was a community of people that knew who they were. And that could be bad too, because when you're in a small community, everybody knows your business. If you do something wrong when you're 20, the rest of your life, there goes that guy who did something wrong when he was 20. Where you go to a big city, nobody knows who you are. They don't even know anything about your past. But in the small communities, there is a benefit when you have the support group where you have your relatives over here and your relatives over there. Of course, sometimes you don't want the relatives, but still, you get benefits from having a strong support groups, whoever they are, wherever they are, if they're close by. And if you can, try any way you can. I think that's one of the most overlooked and most important parts of physical and mental health, especially mental, is having a strong support group of other people who share your culture, interests, and values, and your way of life and thinking. And just it really helps your health to have somebody who's on your side, to be wondering, how are you, what are you doing, maybe you could be, you should go to this person, I know somebody who, you're not all by yourself, in the universe. So it's really good to have a support group. It's overlooked tremendously, and it's something that's hard, something I'm working on, and I'm still nowhere at 10. I'm way down here. I need to improve that a lot myself. diet. Here's everything you need to know about diet. Years ago, I had a wonderful diet. It was called the B diet. It was I would eat things that began with B that were like bananas or beans or broccoli or Brussels sprouts or bacon or beer or big pieces of chicken, big plates of pie with big bowls of ice cream. So long as it began with B, that was my diet. And but eventually, I decided I should try a different diet. And the more I looked at the diets, the more confused I got because there's 5 well-respected, educated, professional people, groups, and organizations have completely different ideas about what is the best diet. My answer is nutrients. Let's say you're on the keto diet. Just go eat the most nutrient of whatever you're going to eat in the keto universe. If you're on the you're a plant-based person. Hello, Dr. Greger. Well, just eat the most nutrient plant you can eat. And to me, that's the only way that would keep me sane because everything else would drive me crazy. I also try to look into what countries have the people that live the longest now and what are they eating. Like I've been looking to what the Japanese eat. Also, people in like Iceland, they live pretty long time. Like they eat a lot of berries and fish. I've been doing fish. I noticed the Japanese eat a lot of fish, so I'm still on the fish and been eating some other things that the Japanese people eat and trying to focus on things that people like. I was looking at the Okinawan diet, but a lot of those Okinawans, they changed their diet to now their health isn't that good anymore. And also the older people, there was a fudge factor because a lot of the older ones had been alive during the Second World War and they were under hardship and didn't have like a lot of calorie intake. So by reducing your calorie intake, that can change your body to where you live longer. So that's like I want to look at if somebody is having the same diet and they're seeing a increase in lifespan now. And so I'm kind of interested. Also, the Seventh Day Adventists, their diet looks pretty good. Um, so the next one is metrics. When I got my AFib, my paroxysmal atrial fibrillation, I started keeping a record every single day of what my blood pressure was, what was my pulse, my heart rate, and then what I ate that day. Did I do anything interesting or different? And how was I feeling, energy levels, and how happy I was. So just keeping idea where I was health wise, mentally wise, and then if something it happened to me, good or bad, in my health, I could see if there was anything I could correlate that might have been causing it. And it was helping me to make a decision about my AFib, which eventually caused me to get an ablation because seemed like it was getting better, but then it went way up like this. It's not getting better. So that made me realize I tried 16 different things. So I said, I got to have ablation because everything else I tried everything, like 16 different things. But that tracking the record gave me confidence that I did everything I could. So if you did everything good, you can do. So that nothing else to do but the ablation. So that was very helpful for me. And since then, I've kept on with that, and it's been helpful to me to help see where my health is going. If I'm having an issue, maybe it was related to something I was exercising or I was traveling or something I ate and so on. It's been very helpful. Um, I I try to see where my happiness level is and my energy levels are and then my blood pressure and so on. And if things start getting out of whack, I try to see what's going on to where I can make changes to get it back to neutral again. But it's very good to keep to measure things. And it's you just get your little notebook. You just start keeping records. This is good. I have with me when I go to doctor. I have questions to ask them, appointments, and then what medications I'm taking, and also while you're waiting, you can do a lot of waiting. have have visual goals of where you want to be by visualizing who you want to be. Because as we get older, we think of old people in a very negative way. Have have positive have positive role models. One of my role models was Jack LaLanne. Jack lived to 94. Of course, His brother, I think, lived to 94 too. I don't think he did the same amount of exercise, but it might have been just genes. But a lot of old-fashioned advice. But when I think of old person, it's helpful to think of somebody who is old but who is very healthy and vigorous, too close to where he ended his life. I think Jack got pneumonia or something. He was working out to the very last day. You can get shots for pneumonia, and it's very helpful. Dr. Linus Pauling, I think he lived to, I think, 94, 95. I read one of his critics. He said if he hadn't taken so much vitamin C, he would have probably lived longer. I think he lived to like 96. So, yeah, it's helpful to have positive role models for living healthy longer period of time. Tools. You there's a lot of different things you can get nowadays. There's very basic things. A stethoscope. When I had my AFib, I became an expert using this every single day. It was always funny. I would when I finished, I'd want to turn it off. It's like no batteries. But you can get little devices to check your heart. Oh, this one I purchased, it gave me a strange reading. I ended up going to the hospital for that. It was faulty. So you want to get one. I don't recommend this one anymore. I made a video on it, but that's not one I recommend. This little cuff, it's been since 2014 every single day, and it's still working. It's I'll leave the brand in the video description. I forgot the name of it, but it's a very top rated one. Now it's like $60. I bought it for like $30 back in 2014. Every single day, and uh, these little oxygen meters, very inexpensive. Get a good one, but they can also be very helpful for so many different things because it help you to make a decision whether you should see somebody or not. You know, your digital thermometer and have backups for some of your other devices. So those are very, very basic items you can have to give you information about what's going on in your health and whether you're getting better or you're getting worse, especially the oxygen meter. You can, there's so many other tools. They have implants now that will test your glucose levels, see when you're eating something, to see how it's changing your body. There's tests to test your gut bacteria, so many things. But you want to be careful over diagnosing too. We'll talk about that in a minute. There's a danger where people are over diagnosing too much and they're having too many tests and procedures, and that could be unhealthy for you. So you want to you can drink too much water and kill yourself, so you want to be careful. But become aware of all the tools that are out there that weren't there before. Another thing, become aware of Dr. Google. There's a lot of bad information on the internet, but there's also, I learned more from a doctor on the internet about my AFib who is living in England, Dr. Gupta. He did a mini series of videos on atrial fibrillation, and I got more information from him than I did my first cardiologist. My sister has asthma. She went to her mechanic. She found out her mechanic has 3 daughters. They all have asthma. She ended up getting more information about asthma and treating her asthma and helping her asthma from her mechanic than she ever got from any of her doctors. Funny story. My mom one time was seriously ill, and she went to the doctor. And while she was in the waiting room, she was talking to the receptionist, and the receptionist asked her symptoms. And when my mom explained them, she said, "Do you have a cat?" My mom said, "Why?" Well, she said, "Yes, I have a cat." She said, "You know what? You probably have cat scratch fever." My mom got mad. She didn't want to be diagnosed by a receptionist, So she saw the doctor. The doctor did samples and tests, and they didn't come back looking good. So they put her in the hospital. They needed more tests, and they put her like in the intensive care for like 2 weeks. They thought she had leukemia. After 2 weeks, they ran test after test after test. 2 weeks in the hospital, that's enough to kill you anyway. they eventually said, well, you don't have anything except the only thing we can think of is you probably have cat scratch fever. So what I'm getting at is you can get a lot of information sometimes from unusual sources. You go to forums. of people have the same thing. That's the wonderful thing. If you can find out what you have and you know for sure that's it, that is one of the most important things to know, because then you can start talking to other people who have what you have and see what they did. Because a lot of doctors, even though that might be their specialty, if they don't have what you have, they're not as much interested in you getting better as you are. Nobody on the planet is more interested in getting better than you are. So you're going to be spending a lot more time and energy on finding out things. We'll get to that in a second. Um, so find out if there, once you get diagnosed from a doctor, find out all you can about all the different groups and different areas on the internet and even books, whatever, of people who are there to give you help. And you still want to take that information to your doctor, work with your doctor as a partner, but still, you you want to avail yourself of all these resources that are out there. Just don't go to a doctor and then that's it. That's where you start. You start with the doctor. You don't finish there. You still consult with your doctor though. Have a doctor or nurse on your side. Most of the time, doctors, I feel sorry for them because they can only spend so many minutes nowadays. I was so fortunate for years, not years, but for a long time. I went to a new doctor, because new insurance. Thank you, Obama. And uh, I went to a new doctor and I saw him. And next time I couldn't see him, I had to see a nurse. And because it was a big clinic, Fort Lauderdale, I ended up seeing this nurse, like 80 years old. But that was the best healthcare I ever got, because it took 3 hours with an appointment to see her. But when she was finished, she said, "Well, is there anything else we can go over that we haven't?" Really? That never happens. And so, and she'd see me every 6 months, and we would talk about. I ended up talking about her health, and I would find things on the internet and give her, and she didn't know about. It was uh, very. She sent me to a dietitian. She was interested in different things in fact, she called my cardiologist because I wouldn't take a statin. She kept bugging and bugging, and we worked that out. But what I'm saying is, she was on my side. She was interested in my health and in having me live a happy long time with good quality of health. Next one is checkups. You can be overdiagnosed. You can check up too much. You can do too many tests. But there are some things, if you haven't done in a long time, if you haven't been to an eye doctor in 20 years, maybe you ought to go. There are certain things can happen to your eyes that build up that silently, and you don't realize, and now you can't see anymore. There's things going on with certain tests that could help you. Just simple basic checkups to see where your blood levels are, where your chemistry is. If you haven't been a long time, I do think sometimes maybe we do go too much, so we do too many tests. But if you're a person that just never ever goes, that's not good either. You gotta have a balance. So don't. Both of my brothers died before they ever collected Social Security. My dad died like the year after he retired. He was a carpenter, worked hard all his life. He was old, and he was wore out, and he got prostate cancer. Boom, and like a year later, he was gone. So whether or not testing would have helped him, I don't know. You never know. Maybe it would have been a bad type of cancer, and even if they had found it, who knows? But you you don't want to go too often, do too many tests, but you don't want to not have any tests either. As you get older, you want to be careful exercising, because if you stress your heart too much, you can have problems with your heart. You can very inexpensively get a heart monitor you can wear or around your wrist, but I like the ones you wear around your chest. And it gives a signal to a little thing on your wrist, or like a watch. And you can have a beeper that will tell you when you've got to like 80% of your maximum heart rate. So if you're doing exercise, if you're doing yard work or whatever, you can start to tell if you've gone too high, because maybe it's a hot day. You've mowed your lawn for the last 20 years, but you didn't take a lot of water the last couple of days, and maybe you weren't feeling too good, and now it's really super hot and you're out there, and now you've been at 99% of your heart rate for the last half an hour, and now you got to go to the hospital. So if you're older and you're doing exercises you don't normally do, invest in a heart rate monitor. And definitely, if you're starting a new exercise program, you want to. There's a book called, I don't recommend this for seniors, but for people who are younger than seniors, there's programs called high intensity interval training where you can get your heart to a higher level than normal for small period of time, and then don't exercise. Then make it go up again, down within like 5 or 10 minutes, and then do that just a few times a week. And then that they find they get better results from those short periods of exercise than walking or jogging for 2 hours a day. So when you do a lot of exercise, you put stress on your joints and so on, and you can also get stress on your heart. Where they're finding better results with shorter intervals of exertion and exercise. So I recommend this book or others on high intensity interval training a lot. For an older person, you definitely want to talk to your cardiologist before you would do something like this. But for somebody who's younger, I this is one of the more interesting books I've read in the last couple of years as far as for exercising go. There has been a lot of talk about calorie restriction increasing lifespan. Um, the other thing they're talking about, which I don't think they have enough data, is intermittent fasting. Um, just reducing the amount of time you eat during the day. I've done that, and I eat breakfast and lunch, and for dinner, I eat like six, but it's just a small shake made from berries that have been soaked overnight in a blender. Just like 2 teaspoons of berries and a little bit of powder and stuff. And so 2 meals a day and a little drink of the juice powdered. Is it? And I don't have any other problems. I don't feel hungry for missing my dinner meal. So I don't know if that's going to help me or not, but it's been very simple to do. Now, there's something though. I see a lot of people interested in fasting and reducing their calories on. But as you get older, if you don't have enough protein, you require more protein as an older person than a younger person. Also, in my experience, it seems like people who have a little bit extra weight live longer than the people who are kind of skinny. The people who look like their skin and bones, they don't seem to last as long as the people who are just a little bit really, really heavy obese people. No, you don't see them last too long when they get older. But to have a few extra pounds, I think is probably good when you're older than to be really, really skinny. I'm trying to get down to 185, but I don't want to get down less than that. I was like 215. Stress reduction. Everybody knows all about we need to have too much stress, we need to reduce stress, and that's true. But also, in the last couple of years with the pandemic, I have been a hermit. I haven't gone anywhere. I got my groceries delivered. And I have found now when I go out, I go into family and there's all this noise and the TV's on and 10 people are talking and everything. And when I come home, I just feel, oh, I don't feel too good. And it's just all the noise and the commotion. And I'm not used to all that noise and people and everything. So you can you can reduce stress too much, I think. I think just as you need probably a little bit of contact with other people for your immune system, from the germs, so you can continue to work on your building up your immunity. If you don't ever have any stress at all from people, it's I think it's good to have reduced stress in the midst of it. It's easy to reduce stress if you don't have any. You want to reduce stress when you're around stress. If you don't have any stress, you don't want to work on reducing your stress because you're going to hit with a confrontation and then you're just going to fall to pieces because you won't have that resiliency anymore. You know, I used to go sailing with the guy and he'd never had anchors, he never had nothing, and we would always have terrible times. And one day we were coming through a bridge and his motor stalled right as we got in the middle of the bridge and opened. Here we go again, and a big boat was coming, and I just went over and grabbed the stay and just hung on and waiting for us to get hit. Like I was used to it, but if I hadn't been used to it, I would have been terrified. Like Scott Adams, he had a disease where he was losing his ability to talk. Nobody could tell him what the problem was. After much time, and he was a rich guy, he was finally able to find one doctor that told him what he had, but there was no way, no cure. So what he did is he went to Google Alert and put in that name of what he had. And then every day Google Alert, if they found something, they would send him something. One day, Google Alert sent him something about a study done by a doctor that was doing surgery to get rid of this problem, but it was dangerous. A lot of people could no longer talk after the surgery. The doctor was like 20 minutes away from where he lived in California. He went in his car, got there, he had the surgery done, and he could talk fine. But if without the Google Alerts, he probably would have withered away and then not been able to talk anymore. So if you have an issue and you want to find out more, use Google Alerts to help you get new uh, trial studies. There's a trial study site, in fact, you can use to help you find information about your disease. Like I said, your doctor is your first step. You want to start researching things on your own. And one of the best things you can do is once you start looking for studies, go to the National Institute of Health. Because when you go to your doctor and want to tell them about something you found on the internet, they're going to close off and not want to talk to you at all because, it's Google. You can find anything on there. But if you tell them you were on the National Institute of Health and you saw they had linked to a study about so-and-so that you have and they were trying this, you could show them the printout and then you can get them to interact with you in a helpful way to where maybe, like as an example, I saw for acid reflux, there was a study that indicated that melatonin was just as helpful as beta blockers in helping control your valve in your esophagus, your throat, to help keep the gases and stuff from coming up. And I don't think my doctor was even aware of it. So I continue to take melatonin, and it's been helpful. So just use everything at your disposal. Another thing is people don't talk about too often is what can it hurt? What can it hurt? Right? Last one. I've got many more. This isn't the last one, but if you like this, we'll do more. But the last one for today, be unstoppable. Don't quit. If you have a problem and it's killing you, I've been there. And if things are coming out of nowhere and you don't know why, I've been there. If you think that your life is over, I've been there. You just gotta, don't quit. Just don't become your illness. Don't identify as your illness. You are somebody with it, but you are with something that you're going to get rid of. You are somebody who has something. You're going to find out what the reason is you have it and not have it anymore. Um, Now, sometimes it's inevitable. It's fate. You have stuff, and that's the way it is. But in the meantime, be unstoppable. So, guys, those are my 21 or more tips that I've been coming up with the last 8 years of having adventures in the medical field. So, like I said at the end of this video, we're just going to have, there's no merchandise to sell, and I'm not going to tell you where to go next. And, oh, check this book out, Overdiagnosed. It's a very good book about how we are often overdiagnosed too much and have too many tests done and so on. It talks about quality of life versus quantity of life and so on. Good conversations to have. So get your heart rate monitor, start using it. And Jacqueline and I salute you. All right, guys. Happy New Year. It's going to be good. It's going to be wonderful. Take care. See you out there.